Chapter 1201 Yi Lui Kun Xing. Sun was shining bright in the sky of northern plains, with no clouds to be seen in the surroundings. However, at Blood Plain, starlight shone brilliantly, as if stars filled the sky. Golden Dawn Hall was quietly floating in the air. It stood majestically. No matter how much turbulence was going on outside, it remained lofty and unmoved. In contrast, the Gu immortals on Chu Du's side were all standing on clouds, their expressions looking unsightly or filled with worries. Chu Du was expressionless, but his gaze that looked at the battle was extremely heavy. Immortal Wang is going to lose. Chu Du sighed internally. In the center of the battlefield, Immortal Wang was fighting with the righteous path Gu immortal Yi Lui Kun Xing. Immortal Wang had already transformed into a heaven-swallowing hound, charging left and right with astonishing might. The heaven-swallowing hound was an immemorial desolate beast, but Immortal Wang was only a rank 7 Gu immortal. This transformation path immortal killer move also did not have a relevant rank 8 immortal Gu in it. So, this heaven-swallowing hound's battle strength was only at rank 7 level. And Immortal Wang's opponent, Yi Lui Kun Xing, was tall and thin like a bamboo pole. He had 3 strands of hair as a beard and had a yellowish-white complexion. Right now, he was far away from the heaven-swallowing hound. Hundreds of star fragments were flying around him, shining with brilliant light, dyeing the sky a color of blue. Immortal Wang's heaven-swallowing hound transformation used all its strength to attack. However, countless star fragments, big and small, tightly surrounded him. Out of these star fragments, small ones were the size of a lantern, while the big ones were the size of an elephant. They kept on flying around. A small portion were encircling Immortal Wang with dizzying speed, while the larger portion were encircling Yi Lui Kun Xing, moving slowly in a mysterious trajectory. Plop, a muffled sound echoed. A star fragment firmly collided against Immortal Wang's body. The heaven-swallowing hound's movement slowed and exposed a flaw when it tried to dodge. Boom, boom, boom. 3 muffled sounds resounded as this opportunity was taken. Star fragments collided against Immortal Wang. Fiercely, the heaven-swallowing hound let out a low growl, coughing out a large amount of blood. Its feet staggered and almost fell down to the ground. Any Gu immortal with eyes could see who was in control of the situation. Immortal Wang was the one attacking, but was in an absolute disadvantage from start to finish, and the defending Yi Lui Kun Xing was the one who held the upper hand, putting himself behind layers of defense. This battle tactic was naturally a correct 1.1 often had to choose. Long-range battle when dealing with transformation path Gu immortals, because the Gu immortal that transformed into Desolate Beast, Ancient Desolate Beast, or even Immemorial Desolate Beast, would have a strong and sturdy body. Just relying on their transformed body's quality, their battle strength would increase to a terrifying level that GU immortals of other paths mostly had human bodies. Their physical qualities were weak. Even if they had powerful defensive methods, they did not want to put themselves in such a dangerous situation where they were fighting with their weakness against a transformation path Gu immortal's strength. The dominance was already clear. Yi Lui Kun Xing was in an impregnable position that he spoke in a clear voice. It is useless, Immortal Wang. My immortal killer move was created by taking Dong Fang Chong Fan's myriad star fireflies as a reference. The flying trajectory is extremely profound and inscrutable. Previously, 6 star fragments could completely obstruct you. Now, there are at least 36 star fragments around you. How will you break through? This Yi Lui Kun Xing was also a person with an interesting past. He had challenged Dong Fang Chong Fan and had suffered defeat after defeat, but had still persisted in challenging him. Dong Fang Chong Fan was a righteous path figure, the #1 wisdom path Gu immortal of Northern Plains who had single-handedly led Dong Fang tribe to prominence. That Yi Lui Kun Xing's defeats did not make Northern Plains Gu immortals feel he was weak. Instead, they very much appreciated him fighting back despite the repeated setbacks, and his steady, unwavering spirit as one of the leading figures of the righteous path. Dong Fang Chong Fan could not lay a heavy hand on Yi Lui Kun Xing, who was similarly of Huang Jin bloodline. There was even one time when after he defeated Yi Lui Kun Xing, he personally instructed him regarding some secrets of myriad star fireflies that Yi Lui Kun Xing treated the guidance as a precious treasure. immediately going into closed cultivation. Unknown to him, this was precisely Dong Fangchong Fan's scheme. Dong Fangchong Fan had not only gotten rid of the annoying Yi Lui Kunxing, this also expressed his goodwill to Yi Lui tribe, and had smoothly accomplished. An instance of collaboration with Yi Lui tribe, gaining large amounts of benefits that Yi Lui Kunxing had originally felt that Dong Fangchong Fan was a thorn in his eyes, but having obtained benefits from Dong Fangchong Fan, he did not feel he could shamelessly challenge Dong Fangchong Fan again. After coming out of his closed cultivation, he chose to focus hard on his own development and did not even find trouble with other Gu immortals of Dongfang tribe. As such, this trump card killer move of his clearly bore resemblance to Myriad Star Fireflies. Myriad Star Fireflies was Dong Fangchong Fan's killer move, which was famous throughout the whole of Northern Plains Gu immortal world. Yi Lui Kunxing's move, however, treated the star fragments as the main body. It could be considered as him creating his own unique method. A real star was extremely huge. Fang Yuan had been using Star Eye's Immortal Gu up until now, and had only managed to refine one star. Immortal Wang's heaven-swallowing hound transformation kept on coughing up blood and was struck by more and more star fragments. He could not even retort. He was dizzy and was heavily injured. Moreover, his immortal essence expenditure had reached an enormous amount. The immortals on Chu Du's side showed even more unsightly looks. If Immortal Wang is defeated, he would be the fourth person Yi Lui Kunxing has defeated from our side. His immortal killer move is truly too powerful. When it was just 2 or 3 star fragments, they can still be resisted. When 15 star fragments appear and they work together as one, the difficulty to resist them increases by countless times. Right now, he already has 100 star fragments, achieving complete dominance. This simply cannot be resisted. Inside Golden Dawn Hall, the Righteous Path Immortals had smiles on their faces. Yi Lui Xiaojin was watching the battle with excitement. Yi Lui Kunxing was his senior. Seeing this senior about to defeat his fourth opponent, Yi Lui Xiaojin also felt excitement and pride. On the other side, Nian Air Pingji was still regulating his breathing. One thing worth mentioning was that Nian Air tribe's position had already moved to the center. This was because of Nian Air Pingji's battle, where he had killed the rank 7 demonic path expert Granny Yin. Many rank 6 geniuses and experts had the battle strength to go against rank 7. But being able to kill rank 7 was a different level altogether. Adding Nian Air Pingji's young age to this battle achievement, this undoubtedly became even more rare. By this time, the allied Righteous Path forces and the alliance of Chu Sect and Baizu had already gone through over 10 battles. At the start, Chu Du had the discerning eye to send out the promising young Shui Wu Hen, who won 3 battles in a row, awing others. Then, from the Righteous Path side, Gong Wan Ting sent Nian Air Pingji, similarly a rising young genius. Nian Air Pingji's battle result was even more brilliant, using the immortal killer move Sword Heart Clarity and killing the renowned demonic path expert Granny Yin. Afterwards, Gong Wan Ting negotiated with Chu Du, and the two sides temporarily stopped the battle, setting rules regarding exchange of corpses. Then the battle began again. Yuan tribe of the Righteous Path, Meng tribe, and other tribes Gu immortals appeared one after the other, while Chu Du sent out Hao Zhan, Chou Lao Wu as well as some Gu immortals of Baizu tribe to contest with them. Perhaps it was because they were senior Gu immortals. Each side had their own victories and defeats, and suffered varying degrees of injuries. But there were no deaths. Seeing the situation seemingly entering a stalemate, Gong Wan Ting pondered for a while before sending Yi Lui Kunxing. This person was a true main strength among Yi Lui tribe's force. He was an expert among rank 7 Gu immortals. Although he had many losses among his battle achievements, they were against Dong Fangchong Fan. Naturally, no one would look down on him. What made people especially admire him were his character and spirit. He had suffered many defeats from Dong Fangchong Fan, but he always came back stronger. Worth mentioning was that Yi Lui Huihong had the highest seniority, but his battle strength could not compare to Yi Lui Kunxing. The Righteous Path paid attention to seniority, unlike the demonic path, which only looked at strength. Finally, Chu Du spoke. "All right, this battle is our loss." Immortal Wang retreated with a shameful expression that Yi Lui Kunxing also did not forcibly go after his life. After all, Immortal Wang still had the ability to protect himself, and it would give enough time for Chu Du to come help. Immortal Wang was pale, his mood extremely complicated. He was the fourth opponent of Yi Lui Kunxing and had originally thought of having gotten an easy opportunity. But the result was that Yi Lui Kunxing's battle strength had not fallen even after 3 battles. Immortal Wang returned to his human form and walked towards Chu Du, saying in a heavy voice that Yi Lui Kunxing's immortal killer move is extremely ingenious. His immortal essence expenditure is definitely small, and the star fragments have mutual attraction force between them, creating a good deal of starlight magnetic force. I am afraid it would not be easy to discern the mysteries of this killer move unless one is a star path Gu immortal. The opponent would be implicated by these star fragments. These star fragments are very fast, and sometimes they would suddenly form a formless force which skewed my direction, making me lose control over myself many times. Now that I think of it, Yi Lui Kunxing was weakest in the first battle. Now, he has already released 100 star fragments, forming an array for battle. The ones who will go later will lose many advantages, and would find it very difficult to go against this array. Immortal Wang's tone was sincere. These were his sincere words. They were also reasons given to excuse himself and not be held at fault. Chu Du nodded and patted Immortal Wang's shoulder. No need to say much. It is good that you returned safely. It was a simple action, but this action almost made Immortal Wang's eyes tear up. Who wants to come fight next? At this time, Yi Lui Kunxing called out. It seems this person still does not want to retreat and wants to fight his 5th battle. Chu Du's expression slightly changed, killing intent flashing in his eyes. The immortals behind him started whispering. He has already defeated 4 people in a row. He still seems to have strength remaining. Immortal Wang's strength is outstanding. He transformed into a heaven-swallowing hound, but was still unable to win. Sigh. Baizu tribe's Gu immortals were silent. Baizu Wei was already dead. What they were good at was not individual battle strength, but Green City Rampage. Hao Zhun and Chou Lao Wu's Wind Thunder Roar was renowned throughout Northern Plains. It could be considered a trump card that could pressure the opponents and make them feel apprehensive. It was only that they had already battled separately and still bore some injuries. When Gu immortals were injured, because of the conflict of Dao marks, they were very difficult to heal. For a moment, Chu Du actually found that he had fallen into an awkward situation of having no experts to send. Comparatively, in the righteous path, experts filled Golden Dawn Hall, while Chu Du's side was only an alliance of the newly established Baizu tribe and his sect. They indeed had few members and were seriously stretched out. Chapter 12:02. Arrogance concealed under beauty. Do I have to go myself? Facing the awkward situation of having no experts to send, Chu Du unavoidably had such a thought. He could naturally take the stage and also had the confidence to win against Yi Lui Kunxing, but what would it look like when Chu Du, as the strongest expert on his side, took the stage? Would it not make their side look weaker? Moreover, even after he wins against Yi Lui Kunxing, the other side would definitely continue to send other Gu immortals. Gong Wan Ting, Yao tribes Yao Yuan Ing, Guan tribes Guan Yang, New Air tribes New Air Gu and New Air Qian. All of these people were experts who Chu Du needed to pay attention to. 2 fists cannot rival 4 palms. Chu Du could win 1 battle, 2 battles, 3 battles, but could he guarantee he would win all the battles? Chu Du fell into silence. What? No one wants to fight? We have just reached this stage, and there is already nobody left. Yi Lui Kunxing did not let go of this chance to mock them. Xue Wuhen could not endure this provocation. He was a very prideful person. He requested to be sent by Chu Du. Let me go deal with this Yi Lui Kunxing. However, Xue Wuhen was only at rank 6. How could Chu Du let him go? Xue Wuhen might be able to battle rank 7, but the other party was an expert among rank 7s. Chu Du slowly shook his head. Right at this moment, his eyes suddenly brightened, because an information path Gu worm flew to his immortal aperture through treasure yellow heaven. Wonderful. Elder Lu Guan Yi's timing is perfect. Chu Du sent his consciousness into the Gu worm, and after absorbing the information, his brows immediately relaxed. He had confidence in Lu Guanyi. He had always thought Fang Yuan's strength was only second to his in Chu's sect, especially when they made the trip to Crazed Demon Cave. Fang Yuan's performance had left a deep impression on Chu. Do be patient. My Chu sect's second Supreme Elder is about to arrive. Yi Lui Kun Xing. Why are you in such a rush? Enjoy your moment of victory for a while longer. Chu Du chuckled as he said in a plain tone. Chu sect's second Supreme Elder? Chu Du is the first Supreme Elder. Doesn't it mean this second Supreme Elder is only second to him? This person is very mysterious. No one knows where he comes from, and we have very limited information on him. Both sides Gu Immortals discussed. The Righteous Path Gu Immortals in Golden Dawn Hall started discussing and exchanging information on Fang Yuan. Think about that Shui Wu Hen. What is strange about them having Lu Guanyi? Nian Er Yifang caressed his beard, speaking unconcernedly. So what if he is stronger? At most, he would have rank 7 peak battle strength. Our side is a gathering of experts and geniuses. Yi Lui Huihong laughed. Gong Wanting spoke softly, her voice lingering around the whole of Golden Dawn Hall. Chu Du is not blind. This person is placed above Hao Zhan and Chou Lao Wu. He is Chu sect's second Supreme Elder. We should assume that he possesses an outstanding aspect. Shui Wu Hen's eyes brightened, having many expectations regarding Fang Yuan. Elder Hao Zhan, how is Elder Lu Guanyi's strength? One He Tribe Gu Immortal asked. Naturally, this He Tribe Gu Immortal had now already changed his surname to Baizu. He had not participated in the Battle of Iron Eagle Blessed Land, and it was not appropriate for him to ask Baizu Tribe's Gu Immortals. Baizu Wei had died in the battle, and this had become almost like a taboo topic in Baizu Tribe. Hao Zhan and Chou Lao Wu were respectively Chu sect's third and fourth Supreme Elder. Actually, they were uncomfortable at being underneath Fang Yuan, but right now, they could not damage their own sect's reputation. He claims to be a transformation path Gu Immortal, but we have never seen him use any transformation killer moves. Even in He Fan Grotto Heaven, when we resisted the attacks of Heavenly Lord, it was like that. The surrounding Gu Immortals could not help but draw in deep breaths. The words of Hao Zhan and Chou Lao Wu made people unavoidably think towards one aspect. It seems this Elder Lu Guanyi is quite amazing. Even the invasion of Heavenly Lord Baizu did not make him use all his strength. This was the person who first intruded Iron Eagle Blessed Land and seized almost all the eagle nests. A Gu Immortal of Baizu bloodline was feeling complicated at this moment. He has arrived. Chu Du suddenly spoke. The immortals behind him followed Chu Du's movement and turned around, looking behind them. Inside Golden Dawn Hall, the Righteous Path immortals also cast their gazes over that a multicolored cloud was flying rapidly, upon which a young-looking Gu immortal stood at the front with his head held high. He wore a white robe. The wide sleeves constantly fluttered backwards due to the wind. He had long black hair and a jade-like complexion, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. His nose bridge was tall, and his skin was white like snow. He had a light smile on his face, appearing relaxed and unfettered, and was extremely handsome. Even a man would be moved by his appearance. Just one glance at Fang Yuan left a deep impression on these immortals. Elder Lu, you have finally come. Chu Du smiled brightly, flying over to welcome him. Domination Immortal Chu Du personally went to receive him. Seeing this scene, many Gu immortals were shaken. Instantly, Fang Yuan's status had risen by multiple levels in their hearts. What are the origins of this Lu Guanyi? What has he done to deserve such treatment from Domination Immortal? The Righteous Path Gu immortals looked at each other as they started to pay more importance to Fang Yuan's arrival. This information path Gu Worm records the battle scenes from earlier. Look at it quickly. Chu Du flew in front of Fang Yuan and secretly handed an information path Mortal Gu to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan silently accepted it. Chu Du treated him as an equal. After the Crazed Demon Agreement, Chu Du's and Fang Yuan's relationship had become much closer. The group of immortals subconsciously went silent, patiently watching Fang Yuan slowly fly towards the battle. This person is Yi Lui Kun Xing. He primarily cultivates Star Path. He has already defeated 4 people on our side. We need you to show your might and defeat him. Chu Du spoke softly to Fang Yuan as he pointed at Yi Lui Kun Xing, who was standing proudly in the air. Fang Yuan inwardly thought. I came over because of this person. A star path blessed land is suitable for me to annex. Moreover, this guy has rank 7 cultivation. After I annex his immortal aperture, my cultivation will immediately soar and reach rank 7. I will start producing red date immortal essence. Yi Lui Kunxing was tense. Ever since Fang Yuan had appeared, he had been paying close attention to him. Fang Yuan's gaze was tranquil. He could not read his expression at all. After some thinking, Yi Lui Kunxing solemnly spoke. I am honored. The immortals quietly looked at Fang Yuan, awaiting him entering the battle. Fang Yuan, however, internally was shaking his head. He had already read all the information in the information path Gu Worm Chu Du had given him, and knew all the moves Yi Lui Kunxing had shown before. Fang Yuan had a clear estimation of Yi Lui Kunxing's strength. He was probably at the level of experts like Unfettered Scholar and Pai Shui Han, or maybe slightly weaker. All in all, he was an expert among rank 7s. Above them would be people like Domination Immortal Chu Du and Immortal Monkey King Shirlei. And above Chu Du were Feng Jiugu and Qin Baisheng. After regaining his memories, it was fully achievable for him to defeat Yi Lui Kunxing with Ancient Sword Dragon transformation, but killing him would be difficult with a frontal assault, especially under the view of the crowd and their watchful eyes. Everyone was on guard against each other, let alone when the opponent was Yi Lui Kunxing. The most important thing regarding this person was this immortal killer move. Not only did it expend little immortal essence, it also had terrifying offensive and defensive properties. Even more praiseworthy was his mental state and nature. Losses could not defeat him and could only make him stronger. If this kind of person was the enemy, the best thing was to kill them. Even Dong Fong Changfan felt a headache because he could not kill him. But how to kill him? Fang Yuan estimated he did not have a high chance of killing Yi Lui Kunxing. After transforming into an ancient sword dragon, Fang Yuan's battle strength would reach the level of Unfettered Scholar. However, Fang Yuan's ability to sustain a long battle was quite poor. After all, Green Grape Immortal Essence could not compare to Red Date Immortal Essence. 100 beads of Green Grape Immortal Essence could turn into 1 bead of Red Date Immortal Essence. But when using rank 7 Immortal Goo, the effect that could be reached with 1 bead of Red Date Immortal Essence required at least 130 beads of Green Grape Immortal Essence. This created a phenomenon of intensifying expenditure. GU Immortals using higher rank Immortal Goo were like children waving around a sledgehammer. It was very difficult. As he pondered this, Fang Yuan spoke. I won't fight. The immortals were stunned. Why won't you fight? Are you afraid? Immortal Wang's sneering voice came from behind. Ever since the Iron Eagle Blessed Lands battle where Fang Yuan had treated him as a scapegoat, Immortal Wang had felt hatred towards Fang Yuan. The expectant gazes of immortals at Fang Yuan made Immortal Wang very dissatisfied. He, himself, was defeated by Yi Lui Kunxing, and the person whom everyone's expectations were placed on was his enemy. Such a feeling left a really bad taste in his mouth. Fang Yuan did not respond. Chu Du, however, immediately frowned, as he turned back and gave a fierce glare at Immortal Wang. Immortal Wang quickly closed his mouth, beads of cold sweat starting to seep out of his forehead. Chu Du inwardly shook his head. Immortal Wang and these other Gu immortals were all lone immortals or demonic cultivators. They are accustomed to being unrestrained. After joining Chu's sect, their awareness has not increased much. Right now, even if he has some dissatisfaction with Lu Guanyi, how could he reveal the internal conflicts of Chu's sect in front of the public? At the same time, Chu Du looked at Fang Yuan. He did not speak, but his gaze inquired. Why won't you fight? Fang Yuan gazed at Yi Lui Kunxing, sneering. He is too weak. I can kill him with just my spit. Do we kill chickens with an ox cleaver? Fighting him is an insult towards my status. Arrogant, way too arrogant. For a moment, the stomachs of the immortals churned, as all kinds of thoughts surged in their minds. Fang Yuan looked like a quiet, handsome boy. Who could have thought his first few words would reveal the astonishing arrogance within him? He actually said he can win against an expert like Yi Lui Kunxing with just his spit. Even Domination Immortal Chu Du might not be able to do it. Nian Ping Ji was displeased. He is tooting his own horn too much. Shui Wuhen looked at Fang Yuan with a dazed look. He had always thought he was a very prideful person, but he could not compare to this person before him. Fang Yuan spouted a lot of nonsense right away. His arrogance caused many people to be dissatisfied. The most dissatisfied person was Yi Lui Xiaojin. He was young and full of vigor. Yi Lui Kunxing was his tribe member. Humiliating Yi Lui Kunxing was like humiliating him. Therefore, this young Gu immortal immediately stood up and shouted loudly, "You don't dare to show your skills, but you have quite the mouth. How can you estimate the skills of my tribe's Lord Kunxing? You are not being proud, but are intentionally saying this because you are afraid." Chapter 12:03. Shameless. I don't know if you are afraid or not, but we can all see whether you dare or not. A Baizu tribe Gu immortal sneered. He had pure Baizu bloodline. Behind him was Heavenly Lord Baizu. Even Chu Du did not have a sway over him. Fang Yuan lightly glanced at this person. The latter looked back without any fear. Clearly, Fang Yuan stealing the eagle nest had caused the hatred with Baizu tribe to be big. Fang Yuan swept his gaze around. The Gu immortals all gazed back at him with doubts, curiosity, uncertainty, anticipation, and so on. Especially Shui Wuhen, who was beside him. His gaze was shining, not fighting. What kind of person am I? This weakling. Hee, not worthy of me making a move. In the future, when my biography is written, my first battle after seclusion is against Heavenly Lord Baizu. But the second battle is with this thing? There won't be any splendor even if I win against such a minor character of Yi Lui tribe. No matter how open-minded Yi Lui Kunxing was, his tone unavoidably had become colder from anger. Humph, so much nonsense. You have said so much. Come fight me if you have guts. You don't have enough qualifications. Fang Yuan held his hands behind his back, head raised and chest out, as he looked at Yi Lui Kunxing with unconcealed contempt. Many Gu immortals' eyes widened. They really wanted to ask. Yi Lui Kunxing actually doesn't have enough qualifications. Then who has the qualifications? What qualifications do you have? I really don't understand where you are getting such confidence from. You are clearly a demonic path lone cultivator. Who knows where you came from? Yi Lui Kunxing fighting you is giving you face, giving you the chance to perform and gain some glory. But the person involved, Fang Yuan, clearly did not have such a thought. The immortals began discussing. The situation had become noisy from the clamor. They were all talking about Fang Yuan, but Fang Yuan turned a deaf ear to their words. After a while, Gong Wanting's expression turned cold, lightly calling out, "Enough. Do you all want to make the grand blood battle martial competition into a joke?" The righteous path immortals immediately turned silent. Gong Wanting then looked at Chu Du. Could it be that your side only has troublemakers remaining? Stalling for so long will only make others ridicule you. Facing the overbearing Gong Wanting, Chu Du did not reply, instead looking at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan ignored Chu Du's gaze and slightly turned towards the side, pointing backwards. You. Me. A former supreme elder of He tribe, currently a Baizu tribe Gu immortal, was completely stumped, not having expected Fang Yuan to suddenly point towards him. Go take the fight. If he can win against you, it means he has some qualifications for me to make a move once. Fang Yuan's tone was still very arrogant. Even his own side's Gu immortals felt their teeth itch from hearing him. The immortals' gazes turned towards this unlucky person. This Gu immortal immediately felt huge pressure. His anger was boiling. Who did I provoke to suddenly send me to battle? Moreover, why the hell are you commanding me? I am a Baizu tribe Gu immortal. Even domination immortal Chu Du can only discuss with me. How can you, a mere second supreme elder, command me? This Gu immortal had decided to refuse, but then he heard the discussions of other immortals. For instance, Yi Lui Kunxing is so strong, he has already defeated 4 people in a row. Now, letting this person fight, isn't it letting the enemy gain more battle achievements? Humph, this person is only a minor character. Yi Lui Kunxing can easily beat 2 of this guy. He is a He tribe Gu immortal. Although his surname is changed to Baizu, can he really fight to the death with a Huang Jin bloodline Gu immortal? Wow. When these discussions resounded in this Gu immortal's ears, he immediately realized that he had no choice but to go to battle. That he fiercely glared at Fang Yuan. Unfortunately, Fang Yuan had already turned around, facing him with his back. The Baizu tribe Gu immortal was furious and aggrieved, but could only give in and fly to the stage. There was nothing unusual about the battle. This Gu immortal was clearly weaker than Yi Lui Kunxing. After exchanging 10 or so moves, he lost. I hope Elder Lu Guan can fight now and enlighten us. This Baizu Gu immortal carried his injuries back, and his first words were to sarcastically speak to Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan snorted. You are too weak. The Baizu Gu immortal suppressed his anger. I am indeed too weak. Elder should show his divine prowess. Feng Yuan's following words almost made him flare up. Taking so long to fight with a weakling like you. I have to admit I had overestimated that Yi Lui Kunxing. Now, I have no interest to battle with him at all. You. The Baizu Gu immortal was stifled to the point of being speechless. The immortal's gaze towards Feng Yuan were also vaguely changing. Shui Wuhen's expression was even more blatant. He sized up Feng Yuan with intense suspicion. So, it was like this. The so-called Chu sect's second supreme elder is just a poser. Yi Lui Kunxing scoffed. His scoff felt piercing to Chu Du's side's Gu immortals. Lord Domination Immortal. Have you ever seen him make a move? Yi Lui Xiaojin also added. Chu Du was silent. He had sensed Feng Yuan's strange behavior, but decided to wait and watch. Elder Lu Guanyi, if you truly have skills, go kill him. That Gu immortal of Baizu tribe sneered. Feng Yuan lightly shook his head, boasting shamelessly. How can you comprehend my power? That's why you will never have the hope of becoming an expert like me. Yi Lui Kunxing flicked his sleeves and walked away. He knew Feng Yuan could not be forced to fight. In truth, after fighting 5 people in a row, he was indeed feeling exhaustion. His immortal essence expenditure was still good. The main thing was that his mind had been taxed a lot. Seeing him retrieve the star fragments and leave, many on Chu Du's side let out a sigh of relief. Yi Lui Xiaojin was also extremely happy, as he raised his head high and ran to the entrance of Golden Dawn Hall to welcome Yi Lui Kunxing. How could they have known Feng Yuan to speak? Look, he is indeed afraid of me. Even if I didn't enter the battle, he has been feeling frightened. Now he is unable to maintain his cool any longer, having no choice but to leave. Yi Lui Kunxing's steps slightly paused. Shui Wuhen's eyes widened as he gazed at Feng Yuan and thought, there is actually such a shameless person in this world? It has really opened my eyes. Brother Chu actually gave this person the status of second supreme elder. Perhaps his judgment has dulled. Yi Lui Xiaojin's mouth almost twisted from anger. On the contrary, Yi Lui Huihong's expression slightly changed. He squinted his eyes and started looking at Feng Yuan. Yi Lui Kunxing shook his head, continuing to leave without even glancing at Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan laughed loudly. Yi Lui Kunxing, F***ck your 18 generations of ancestors. The whole scene was silent, before they suddenly burst into an uproar. Where is your disposition? Where is it? The Gu immortals screamed internally. Who could have thought the elegant-looking Feng Yuan would swear out loud in public? Even if they were fighting for their lives, Gu immortals always maintained their disposition. After all, they all praised themselves as being righteous. Cursing like this in front of everyone was really letting go of one's reputation. His good looks are wasted. A Gu immortal gazed at Feng Yuan, shaking their head constantly. No doubt, the favorable impression Feng Yuan gave to the immortals at first glance was already ruined. Feng Yuan laughed sinisterly, suddenly walking to the battle stage. Yi Lui, whatever. I am here. Didn't you want to fight with me? Yi Lui Kunxing stopped and gazed back. The atmosphere of the whole scene changed. Inside Golden Dawn Hall, Yi Lui Huihong was sitting upright, his expression solemn. Kunxing, careful. This person is doing something underhanded. Come back. Feng Yuan's earlier and later attitude made Yi Lui Huihong realize that something was fishy. Feng Yuan laughed heartily. Gutless rat. Yi Lui tribe is made up of cowards. You are a bunch of bastards. All kinds of derogatory terms were thrown out one after the other. The immortals were stupefied as they listened. Chu Du wanted to cover his face. Feng Yuan did not have even a bit of elegance. He was destroying the image of Chu sect that a piece of rat poop spoils an entire pot of soup. It was the first time Chu Du reconsidered on his decision to draw in Feng Yuan. Was it correct? But no matter what anyone said, Feng Yuan's provocation was effective. The righteous path was easier to deal with than demonic path and lone cultivators in certain aspects, especially when the question was about reputation, when it involved the tribe and bloodline. Even if one did not care on the inside and was willing to ignore the other's cursing in front of the public, with so many outsiders watching fixedly, it became another situation. The super forces which were held together by bloodline and blood relations protected and attached great importance to the reputations of their ancestors. This was their basic moral philosophy. Kunxing, come back. I will personally face the skills of this Chu sect's second supreme elder. Yi Lui Huihong stood up. Fang Yuan unavoidably felt disappointed inwardly, but laughed on the surface. Yi Lui Kunxing, it's time to scram. Yi Lui Kunxing waved his hand at Yi Lui Huihong, smiling at Fang Yuan, revealing his white teeth. Since it is so hard to find a chance for you to fight, how can I avoid the battle and escape? It is just that I have fought hard for 5 battles and need to rest for a while. Such a request was completely fair. Fang Yuan smiled. This Yi Lui Kunxing could still be so cool-headed. But he also did not expect these words to be able to make these Gu immortals lose their rationality from anger. In truth, his pestering had already reached his target. So, Fang Yuan immediately allowed. Rest as much as you want. I will give you 2 or 3 days. If 2 or 3 days are not enough, then take 2 or 3 years. Hee, an hour is enough. Yi Lui Kunxing smiled with clenched teeth. Fang Yuan was really detestable. Yi Lui Kunxing was naturally very angry, but he was also very aware of his own situation. His immortal essence expenditure was not much, and he still had a lot of reserves left. Resting for an hour was mainly to restore his mental energy. He had his own methods for this, and after an hour, he could completely recover to his peak state. At that time, he will let this Lu Guan taste his power. This hour of time appeared somewhat unbearable as the Gu immortals waited. Finally, Yi Lui Kunxing recovered and walked to the stage, standing opposite Fang Yuan. Lu Guani I. Yi Lui Kunxing was just about to speak when Fang Yuan's body suddenly erupted with dazzling silver light. The next instance, a silver-colored ancient sword. Dragon shot out of the light. It had a sharp dragon horn. Its mouth was opened wide, revealing it to be densely filled with sharp fangs. So despicable. He actually sneak attacked. The righteous path's immortals scolded at once. The ancient sword dragon had already neared Yi Lui Kunxing. Chapter 1204. How could it be seen through? Yi Lui Kunxing had a great fright as he quickly retreated. This shameless guy. He cursed inwardly, not having expected Fang Yuan's actions. Every time he felt that Fang Yuan was shameless, Fang Yuan's following actions would completely redefine shamelessness. Fortunately, Yi Lui Kunxing had been all the while and reacted in time. One chased, and the other escaped. The distance between Fang Yuan and Yi Lui Kunxing was rapidly shrinking. The immortals held their breaths. Yi Lui Xiaojin also subconsciously stood up, looking at Yi Lui Kunxing with worry. Yi Lui Huihong, however, stood stably in his seat. He had a better understanding of Yi Lui Kunxing's trump cards and did not think Yi Lui Kunxing was in danger right now. So he cultivates Ancient Sword Dragon transformation. Chu Du thought, Ancient Sword Dragon, based on potential, it is still inferior to my heaven-swallowing hound. Immortal Wang had clenched teeth. He finally took action. This was what many Gu immortals were thinking. Go. The retreating Yi Lui Kunxing suddenly called out, pushing lightly towards the charging ancient sword dragon. Immediately, his whole hand emitted brilliant blue light. A star fragment shot out from the blue light and collided against Fang Yuan with a speed like that of a meteor. Fang Yuan roared towards the sky before suddenly moving. The whole ancient sword dragon made a beautiful arc in the air as it nimbly moved past the incoming star fragment, almost brushing past it. When the Gu immortals saw this scene, despite having an extremely bad impression of Fang Yuan, many of them could not help but give praise internally, as they sensed Fang Yuan had already reached a proficient level at Ancient Sword Dragon transformation. Such control made Fang Yuan seem like he was an ancient sword dragon from the start of his life. Not good. Immortal Wang suddenly spoke. Almost at the same time, Yi Lui Kunxing saw Fang Yuan moving past this star fragment, and the corner of lips slightly raised up. Ping. A sharp sound echoed. Feng Yuan's dragon tail swung, directly smashing the star fragment he had brushed past. The ancient sword dragon Feng Yuan had turned and had a more terrifying tail compared to its claws. Its tail could directly smash dark inkstone, let alone this star fragment. Such a response made even Chu Du pleasantly surprised. He was happy inwardly. The information path Gu Worm I gave to Lu Guan Yi has records of all the battle scenes of Yi Lui Kunxing. So Lu Guan Yi knows he absolutely cannot let Yi Lui Kunxing have many star fragments under his control. The greater the number of star fragments he controls, the stronger he would become. Finally, it would form into an enormous advantage that managed to defeat 5 people in a row. Yi Lui Kunxing was slightly disappointed when he saw Feng Yuan responding in the wisest way, and quickly increased his retreating speed at the same time. He repeatedly clapped. Layers of blue light covered his 2 hands, from which star fragments shot out one after the other. First, they were only thumb-sized, but as they moved in the air, they returned to their original size and flew more rapidly, bringing in strong gusts of wind. Boom, boom, boom. Feng Yuan used his horn, claws as well as his body and tail to destroy all these star fragments. He did not give Yi Lui Kunxing any opportunity to accumulate power. For a moment, star debris flew all around, turning into blue fragments like fog or sand, which scattered with the strong gale, creating a beautiful sight that was difficult to describe. The silver scales of the ancient sword dragon also added to this beauty as it moved along the star debris. Chu Du slightly frowned. Originally, Feng Yuan made a wise choice of smashing the star fragments, targeting the weakness of Yi Lui Kunxing's immortal killer move. But also because of this, it led to a decrease in Feng Yuan's speed. The distance between the two did not shrink much. The advantage of the sneak attack before had already disappeared now. Yi Lui Kunxing had already stabilized himself. He snorted as he struck out with his hands rapidly. Star fragments shot out everywhere, but not directly towards Feng Yuan. Feng Yuan fell into a difficult situation with 2 choices in front of him. That if he charged directly towards Yi Lui Kunxing, the latter would retreat, and he would not be able to forcibly close the distance. At the same time, the surrounding star fragments would keep on increasing, accumulating a great advantage for the latter. If Feng Yuan dealt with these star fragments, he would have to keep on flying around, and would fall deeper into Yi Lui Kunxing's scheme, giving the latter the initiative to more easily arrange the battle situation. The ancient sword dragon slowed down its offense in its state of hesitation. Sensing this, Chu Du's frown became deeper, while Yi Lui Hui Hong, inside Golden Dawn Hall, was starting to smile, taking a small sip of fine wine. Despite Feng Yuan's hesitation not lasting for long, he had missed a good opportunity, and there were now dozens of star fragments on the battlefield. Yi Lui Kunxing's advantage had started to accumulate. Feng Yuan was surrounded by the star fragments, despite him not caring about his body, and engaging in even more crazed offenses. He was not able to break through the layers of encirclement. Yi Lui Kunxing relaxed. The star fragments continued to increase, not only surrounding Feng Yuan, some had also appeared beside him, orbiting around continuously. Lu Guan Yi, you acted arrogant and boasted shamelessly. It was to make me take back the star fragments so I would have to lay them out again. Your scheme was quite deep, almost letting others think you are wildly arrogant. Unfortunately, I am not the same person I was years ago. A few years ago, I already improved upon this weakness of my immortal killer move. It is indeed somewhat weak at the start, but your methods are not enough to restrain me. Now, what are you going to use to resolve this situation? A dragon's roar resounded. Feng Yuan moved his body, brandished his claws, and destroyed countless star fragments. Star debris flew all around. The dragon's might was powerful. Its speed was especially astonishing. Unfortunately, the spectating immortals sensed weakness within this strong momentum. Feng Yuan was attacking wildly, but Yi Lui Kunxing was far away, watching with arms folded in front of him, maneuvering the star fragments leisurely. As time passed, there were more and more star fragments orbiting around Yi Lui Kunxing. Lu Guan Yi has lost. Immortal Wang spoke decisively at this sight. Shui Wu Hen did not speak, inwardly thinking. Based on strength, Elder Lu Guan Yi is indeed powerful, at the same level as Elder Hao Zhen and Elder Chou Lao Wu. But there is still a gap when compared to Yi Lui Kun Xing. Chu Du was still frowning. The strength Fang Yuan displayed was not consistent with his expectations. But he still felt Fang Yuan had a trump card and was still confident in Fang Yuan. And until the end of the battle, he would choose to keep his expectations that Yi Lui. Xiao Jin laughed heartily at the entrance of Golden Dawn Hall and shouted, "That Lu Guan, or whatever, why are you not yelling now? Come on, continue boasting. Didn't you say my tribe's Lord Kun Xing could not compare to you? Didn't you say fighting him would lower your status? Why are you not speaking now? Only knowing how to yell. What do you want to vent out?" The ancient sword dragon roared furiously, destroying the star fragments. Sensing Fang Yuan's furious mood, Yi Lui. Xiao Jin laughed again. Chu Sek's second supreme elder is only at this level. In all fairness, he does have some strength. Have you counted how many star fragments he has already destroyed? But that is useless. Yi Lui Kun Xing's dominance is already increasing. Lu Guan Yi's hesitation earlier decided the battle. This was his only fault, but it was perfectly used by Yi Lui Kun Xing. Thinking of it, it is also not strange. What is Chu sect? How can they be on par with our great Huangjin forces? Their second supreme elder has such battle strength. Chu Du cannot be considered to have made a bad judgment. The righteous path Gu immortals drank and rejoiced inside Golden Dawn Hall. The atmosphere was relaxed at Yi Lui. Hui Hong stroked his beard. The smile on his face had become brighter, but at the same time, he did not forget to speak and remind Yi Lui Kun Xing. Be careful of his dragon breath. The ancient sword dragon's strongest weapon is its breath. Until now, he still hasn't breathed out once. Yi Lui Kun Xing slightly nodded. Even without Yi Lui Hui Hong's reminder, he had already been concerned about this. Experts, they were not decided with just strength, but also their mental state during battle. No doubt. Yi Lui Kun Xing, who had suffered numerous defeats, had an extremely good mentality. He was an expert that had gone through painstaking training, setbacks, and defeats. His foundation was extremely solid and stable. However, Yi Lui Kun Xing did not retreat. Right now, he was quite far away from Fang Yuan. Almost at the opposite end of the battlefield, Yi Lui Kun Xing looked at the star fragments orbiting around him and thought, I have 100 star fragments protecting me. Even if Chu Du personally comes, I can resist for a while, let alone this Lu Guanyi. Dong Fong Chong Fan. You might have passed away, but let me sustain the reputation of myriad star fireflies for you. After all, my immortal killer move had received your guidance. Right as most of the Gu immortals felt the battle was decided, there was a sudden change. Sword escape, immortal Gu. Suddenly, Fang Yuan activated rank 7 sword escape, immortal Gu. Right now, he had transformed into an ancient sword dragon. His transformation path Dao marks had turned into sword path Dao marks, adding on to his cultivation of sword eyebrows immortal Gu. His sword path Dao marks had already reached a number of 10,000. 1,000 Dao marks could double an immortal Gu's PowerPoint. 10,000 Dao marks could add 10 times the power. Sword escape immortal Gu was already an exceptional movement Gu worm among rank 7 immortal Gu. Now, 10 times its power was added. At the same time, the ancient sword dragon's own speed also had to be calculated. Sword dragons did not have strong long-range attacks, but their burst of speed from a stationary state was astonishing. Ancient sword dragon, sword escape, immortal Gu, and 10,000 sword path Dao marks, when stacked together, allowed Fang Yuan to instantly disappear from his spot. Before any immortals had reacted, he had already flown through the whole battlefield and appeared in front of Yi Lui Kun Xing. At this moment, Yi Lui Kun Xing's expression was still paused on a strategic and victorious smile. But his pupils had shrunk to needle-sized as he looked, with extreme fright, at a gigantic sword dragon head that filled his whole vision. He only had one thought in his mind. Impossible. My star fragments' flying trajectories are extremely profound and takes reference from myriad star fireflies. How could he see through it? This was Yi Lui Kun Xing's final thought in life. Chapter 1205. Be careful of Lu Guanyi. Everything happened too quickly. At the previous moment, the ancient sword dragon was still tightly surrounded by star fragments. It was charging here and there, roaring repeatedly but unable to do anything to the previous moment. Yilui Kunxing was still at the other end of the battlefield. Star fragments were orbiting around him like he was the Lord of Stars to the previous moment. Almost all the Gu immortals felt Yilui Kunxing already had victory in his grasp, and the battle was decided. Because they were very much familiar with the scene that was unfolding in front of them. Before this, the 5 Gu immortals Yilui Kunxing had defeated in succession were all in this situation. Although there was no study of subconscious bias in this world, these Gu immortals' thought processes were almost the same at this moment. Then, at the next moment, Fang Yuan suddenly used Sword Escape Immortal Gu, instantaneously bursting out with an extremely terrifying speed. The next moment, the ancient sword dragon had destroyed all the obstructing star fragments in its path and arrived in front of Yilui Kunxing. He opened his mouth and breathed out dragon breath. While Yilui Kunxing was still confident in his defensive methods, his whole head had instantly been sliced off. The human body was weak and had many fatal areas. When the head was cut off, they would die. Even if they turned into an immortal zombie, their head was still a weak point. Why Yilui Kunxing immediately died. Fang Yuan smoothly grabbed his body that a portion of Yilui Kunxing's soul was also cut, and before it could escape from his physical body, Fang Yuan had already stored it inside his immortal aperture. The whole process went extremely quickly. Fang Yuan had already been plotting for a long time. Activating Sword Escape, charging in, using his dragon breath, and retrieving the corpse. The whole process involved 4 actions. But even so, after Fang Yuan finished these 4 actions, his whole dragon body had already charged out of the battlefield. Reaching several li away. One could feel how terrifying his speed was. If it were a human body, it might have already burst from the enormous pressure brought by such intense speed. Fortunately, Fang Yuan had transformed into a dragon, but even with this, Fang Yuan felt quite a bit of pressure when he had charged. His vision had already turned blurry. If he had human eyes, they would not have been able to keep up with such speed. But Fang Yuan's eyes were dragon eyes now. Even so, it was difficult for his eyes to cope with this speed. This speed. Even Fang Yuan felt like he could not sustain it. If I am to move with this speed, I must use all my energy and concentration in controlling my body. Otherwise, if there is any deviation in my direction, who knows whether I crash into peaks or the ground at the next moment. This speed is too fast. One moment I am still in the air, and the next moment I am already several li away. Fang Yuan thought in his mind that he thought of when he had first gotten the sovereign immortal aperture and practiced colliding into southern borders mounds. Besides knocking himself dizzy, the whole mound, and even the veins underneath had been destroyed. This speed was quite suitable for a momentary burst, but in truth, it was not highly practical during battle. Once Fang Yuan used his fastest speed, he would have to use all his energy and concentration in controlling the ancient sword dragon body. As such, he could only perform some simple actions, or maybe rely on the transformed sword dragon body. If so, it would be quite dangerous, because although Fang Yuan would have a sturdy and strong body in ancient sword dragon form, the sovereign immortal body's characteristic of non-conflicting Tao marks would still exist. Ancient sword dragon transformation is a classic case of strong offense and weak defense. Moreover, there is an extreme imbalance between its offense and defense. Fortunately, I actually succeeded this time and killed Yilui Kunxing. My luck is pretty good. First, I need to find a place to annex this immortal aperture before I think of anything else. Fang Yuan did not return, directly flying away from Blood Plain. The Gu immortals of both sides watched his figure dazedly, until he disappeared into the horizon. The immortals looked at the messy battlefield with countless star debris, as well as many star fragments still flying in the air. Only then did they come to a sudden realization. Lu Guanyi. He killed Yilui Kunxing. Unbelievable. This is like a dream. Too fast. We simply cannot react to such speed. Regardless of the righteous path or Chu Du's side, they were both clamoring in discussions. Gu immortals did not transmit their voices secretly, but directly spoke out, as if they could only release the doubts in their hearts by speaking up. Yilui Shaojin was standing, dumbfounded, at the entrance of Golden Dawn Hall, like a statue. Just moments before Yi Lui Kunxing was killed by Feng Yuan, he had still been shouting and mocking Feng Yuan. Now, these words he spoke out, as well as his actions, seemed to be like slaps that struck his face repeatedly and resoundingly. He was shaken and shocked, unable to believe this fact. Yi Lui Huihong also stood from his seat. His hand was still holding a wine cup and his beard was wet from the spilling of the wine. Just the moment before Feng Yuan killed Yi Lui Kunxing, he had been sitting and moving the wine cup to his lips. But after the matter occurred, Yi Lui Huihong subconsciously stood up from shock, not caring about the wine cup in his hand, letting the wine spill on his beard, neck, and clothes. Why Yi Lui Kunxing was dead, an expert of Yi Lui tribe, a famous northern plains Gu immortal. Yi Lui Kunxing was dead. His death was so sudden that there had been no signs at all that if Yi Lui Shaojin was said to be a future hope of Yi Lui tribe, then Yi Lui Kunxing was a current pillar of the tribe, but he had died. His life had ended here. This was an extremely heavy impact to Yi Lui Huihong and Yi Lui Shaojin, and to the whole of Yi Lui tribe as well. This was an extremely big loss, terrifying, too powerful. He is indeed the second supreme elder of Chu's sect, such astonishing battle strength. Chu Du really has an eye for talent. I had been looking down on Lu Guan just before. My insight is still too superficial. The Gu immortals on Chu Du's side were all showing happy expressions. Despite them not liking Feng Yuan, the battle achievement was displayed in front of them. Feng Yuan had resolved their difficult problem, Yi Lui Kunxing, permanently. From now, there would be no such person in Northern Plains Gu immortal world. Amazing. Elder Lu put on a pretentious appearance to incite the other side. Then during the battle, he lured the enemy into having a false sense of security step by step. He clearly has such strength, but he restrained himself until the last moment, when he dealt the fatal blow. Shui Wuhen heaved a long sigh. He was thoroughly convinced. Such a turn of events made him fully admire Feng Yuan. How laughable I was. I had still been thinking Elder Lu was nothing impressive. Sigh. If I was Elder Lu's enemy, I might have died without knowing how I died. I am still too inexperienced. Everyone needs to pay attention. This Lu Guan is extremely crafty. Be vigilant when you encounter him in the future. Inside Golden Dawn Hall, New Air Gu spoke with a grave expression, breaking the long silence. Right now, as they thought back to Feng Yuan's performance, they all felt Feng Yuan was extremely insidious and sly. The arrogance before the battle and the weak display during the battle were just disguises, so he could strike with the most fatal attack at the end. He did not make a move carelessly, but when he moved, it shook everyone. Ping Ji, if you run into this Lu Guan alone in the future, it would be best for you to avoid him and retreat. Nian Er Yifeng looked at his tribe's future hope and spoke with worry. Nian Er Ping Ji nodded. Yes, I understand. I am only a sword child right now. When I become a sword master in the future and cultivate to rank 7, I will definitely have a proper fight with this elder Lu Guanyi. The righteous path Gu immortals spoke to each other. Yi Lui Kunxing died a miserable death. The whole battle was in Lu Guanyi's grasp. What we and Yi Lui Kunxing felt and saw was all just his facade. Sigh, who could have thought he had such strength? Elder Yi Lui Huihong, don't blame yourself. We will definitely take revenge for Yi Lui tribe in the coming battles. Yi Lui Huihong had already snapped back to awareness. There was one thing he did not understand in his mind. How was Lu Guan able to easily penetrate through the heavy lines of defense from Yi Lui Kunxing's numerous star fragments? He had sparred many times with Yi Lui Kunxing and was very clear on how much power the defensive lines held. This doubt was shrouding over Yi Lui Huihong's heart. Like a heavy dark fog, he took 2 large breaths. His face was still pale, but he forcibly calmed down because right now, he represented the whole of Yi Lui tribe. If his performance was not good, the whole of Yi Lui tribe would be disgraced. Lady Gong Wanting. Yi Lui Huihong took a deep bow to the main seat. My tribe's Yi Lui Kunxing is of pure Huangjin bloodline. Sacrificing his life here is also a glory for him. He is a hero of our Huangjin bloodline. But now, his corpse is still in his killer's hands. His soul also might still be alive. I sincerely request to come forward and recover Kunxing's corpse and his soul. Of course. Gong Wanting softly agreed. Her attitude was straightforward and clear. According to rules set by both sides previously, they could exchange corpses, but right now, Fang Yuan had already raced off to who knows where with Yi Lui Kunxing's corpse. Even if the righteous path Gu immortals wanted to chase him, they were too late. Thus, Gong Wanting directly asked Chu Du. Chu Du was also surprised at Fang Yuan's direct departure, and had already sent a letter to ask. Fang Yuan had such strength, Chu Du still needed to rely on him. Just as Gong Wanting had asked, Chu Du had coincidentally received Fang Yuan's reply in his immortal aperture. I have great use for Yi Lui Kunxing's corpse. Brother Chu, if you have no choice, just expel me from Chu's sect. These were two simple sentences, but they expressed Fang Yuan's firm and unrelenting attitude. Chu Du frowned, but spoke calmly to Gong Wanting. Fairy, you can rest at ease. Yi Lui Kunxing's corpse will definitely be guarded properly. I have already notified my sect's second supreme elder. But to exchange for the corpse, your side will have to pay a price. Everything can be discussed. Yi Lui Huihong immediately agreed. His stance was clear.